I remember the smell first. Not the blood. That's everywhere. Always, forever. But the ozone. The taste of the sky splitting open. A burnt metal tang, sharp enough to sting my teeth. I thought at first it was another bombardment, another cursed dawn of artillery fire. But then came the laughter. Not human laughter. Too bright, too clean. A sound that didn't belong to our galaxy of choking prayers and starving saints. It cut through the thunder of guns like sunlight stabbing through stained glass. It didn't belong here. None of it did. And I should have shut my eyes. I should have torn out my ears. But I watched. I listened. I saw him arrive. You don't understand. You can't. To survive in the Imperium, you don't look. You never look. You keep your head down, your lips mumbling catechisms, your heart nailed to the Emperor's corpse throne even as your stomach knots with hunger. You don't ask questions, you don't open your eyes wide. Because the galaxy is full of things that notice. And yet, there he was. A figure burning with light that wasn't fire, glowing like the afterimage of a star behind your eyelids. His boots touched ground, and the very air shifted. The mud at my feet dried to dust. The smoke overhead thinned. For a moment, I thought I smelled fruit. Do you know how long it's been since I tasted anything sweet? Not just corpse starch mush or recycled protein. Not just rot disguised with sacred salt. Decades. Whole campaigns. My tongue didn't even know what to do with the memory. It almost broke me before I realized the sweetness wasn't real. It was him. His very presence rewrote the air, fed the starving nerves in my skull. I should have prostrated myself, like the commissar screamed at us to. I should have screamed heresy and opened fire. But my lost gun weighed nothing in my hands, and my knees would not bend. Daily life before him was different. It was hell, but it was a stable hell. A rhythm of misery. Wake when the klaxons howl. Recite morning catechisms until your throat bleeds. Choke down rations, corpse starch if you're lucky, rat meat if the quartermaster has mercy. Form ranks. Wait. March. Fight. Always the same cycle. Mud, fire, screams, prayers, silence. Repeat until you die. And you will die? The only question is whether you'll die clean, shot in the front, name in the registries, or foul, like so many I've seen, eaten, corrupted, vanishing into something that should not exist. But routine makes it bearable. I could almost feel safe inside the endless repetition. I knew where to walk, where to kneel, what to forget, until he arrived. He didn't walk out of a dropship. He didn't tear open the veil like a demon. He just appeared. A man-shaped blaze, muscles carved like marble, eyes like twin suns. His clothes were strange. No sigils of the Aquila, no armored plating, no servos whining with the weight of ceramite. Just cloth. Cloth that somehow survived lost fire and autocannon blasts, as if reality itself bent around him. The commissar screamed, "Heresy! Fire! Fire!" But the first volley never reached him. The beams curved, like children changing their minds. The bullets dissolved in midair, falling like ash. I swear I heard them apologize before vanishing. And then, he laughed. That sound again. A sound like spring water in a desert. A sound that made my gut ache with want. The commissar drew his bolt pistol. The stranger looked at him, tilting his head, not in anger, never in anger, but in disappointment. And the commissar was gone. Not torn apart. Not blasted. Just gone. His coat fell in a heap, his cap spinning once before it landed in the mud. And none of us moved. None of us breathed. Do you see how wrong this is? Do you understand why I whisper to you now? Why my throat trembles with every word? The galaxy has rules. Even in madness, there are rules. Chaos devours. Tyranids consume. Necrons strip flesh from bone. There's logic to their horror, brutal and merciless. But him? He didn't destroy. He erased. He unstitched the weave of existence with the ease of brushing dust from his shoulder. And yet, I wanted to touch him. God Emperor, forgive me, I wanted. That night. I don't even know if it was night. The sky was burning red, but I call it night because I closed my eyes. The rituals of survival felt hollow. We usually recite our litanies before sleep, each word a shield against the warp's whispers. We usually pass the canteen of recycled water, the taste so foul it might as well be poison. But still, our shared communion. We usually whisper stories of Terra, though none of us have ever seen it, just to pretend the dream still matters. But that night, no one spoke. The litanies died in our throats. The water soured in its tin. And the dream of Terra seemed ridiculous compared to him. I lay awake, my heart drumming faster than artillery, and I swore I could hear his laughter even then, carried through the smoke. Not cruel, not mocking, just endless. And somewhere deep inside me, a thought bloomed like rot under skin. What if he is greater than the Emperor? Escalation the next morning. I think it was morning, though the sun was smothered by smoke. We awoke to silence. Not peace. Silence. The guns had stopped. No shells shrieked across the horizon. No tanks rattled the trenches. The world itself seemed to be holding its breath. It should have been a relief, a miracle, but instead it made every nerve in my skin scream. Because silence, in war, means one thing. Something is watching. And it was him. He wasn't hiding. He stood on the ridge above our encampment, where the commissar used to give his morning tirades. The same spot where men had been executed for cowardice, their heads decorating spikes to keep the rest of us disciplined. Now he stood there, hands folded behind his back, looking down at us as if we were children stirring in our bunks. He smiled. I've seen many smiles in my life. Sadistic, hollow, starving. But never that. His smile wasn't kind, wasn't cruel, it was complete. A perfect circle of certainty, as if he carried within himself the answer to a question we hadn't dared to ask. We should have fallen to our knees. We should have screamed and fired. Instead, one man laughed. Just a chuckle, half-choked in disbelief. And then another joined. And then another. Soon, my entire squad was laughing. Not out of joy, not out of madness, but because his presence pulled the sound from our lungs like a puppeteer tugging strings. And I laughed too. My throat raw, my ribs aching, laughter spilling from me against my will. He raised one hand, and instantly, silence returned. Like a parent shushing a child. The warp hates silence. It cannot stand stillness. So when he willed the world into quiet, reality screamed in answer. I saw the air split behind him. Thin fissures, like cracks in glass, revealing the boiling ocean of the Imperium beneath. Demons writhed, clawing at the edges, shrieking as if the sight of him seared their essence. They tried to push through, and then froze. Their bodies fractured like statues of brittle ice. Their roars died into whimpers. I watched one, a thing with 1,000 mouths and wings made of bone, try to lunge. He looked at it, not even raising his hand, just looking. It folded in on itself, like parchment burning in reverse. Gone. Do you understand the heresy of this? A human, if he was human, commanding the warp not with prayer, not with ritual, not with the Emperor's sanction, but by sheer existence. He didn't banish demons. He unwrote them. The chaplain was the first to resist. He strode forward, Crozius raised, voice booming with scripture. Abomination. You trespass on holy ground. In the name of the God Emperor, I cast you back into. The words died. His tongue stuck to the roof of his mouth. His eyes bulged, veins standing out like cords. He tried to choke out the last syllables of the prayer, but sound betrayed him. The stranger tilted his head, almost pitying. Then he flicked 2 fingers. The chaplain dropped. Not broken, not burned, but hollow. His eyes open, staring, his Crozius clattering to the dirt, his lips still frozen in that half-formed prayer. I don't know if he was dead. I don't know if he was alive. He was just nothing. After that, we stopped pretending. No one whispered litanies. No one polished their weapons for the next battle. We sat there, silent, waiting for him to move, like insects under a sunbeam. And move he did. The first time I saw him fight, truly fight, was 3 days later. A splinter of the Tyrannid swarm descended, blotting the sky with wings and chitin. They came screaming, a tide of claws and hunger. Normally, that would be the end of us. I've seen Tyrannids tear through regiments, strip tanks bare, silence worlds and hours. They are inevitability made flesh. But he rose into the air to meet them. Not with machines, not with wings, not with sorcery. He flew. I swear on my soul, I watched him leave the earth like it no longer deserved him. His body blurred, impossible to follow, and then light. 1,000 suns erupting at once, exploding from his fists, his feet, his scream. The Tyranids disintegrated. Not slain. Not defeated. Turned to vapor, to streaks of ash that dissolved before they hit the ground. In minutes, the swarm was gone. Not a single claw touched soil. He landed lightly, dust billowing around his boots. He smiled again, as though he'd merely swatted flies. And we cheered. Emperor damn me, we cheered. But victory in this galaxy is never clean. The warp rippled. Psyker screamed. One of our astropaths clawed his own eyes out, shrieking that the great ocean is boiling. I smelled burnt copper, tasted bile. The stranger's power didn't just kill Tyranids. It scarred the warp. For weeks, nightmares plagued us. Not the usual ones, not the standard demonic whispers. These were different. Brighter. Louder. Dreams of light that seared. Dreams of laughter that rang inside our skulls until blood leaked from our ears. The demons grew quieter. But their silence felt worse than their screams. Words spread faster than fire in dry grass. Whispers. Rumors. Songs. Some called him the Emperor Reborn. Others a false god. Others still claimed he was the fifth chaos power, a god of light masquerading in flesh. Regiments deserted, trying to find him. Entire hive cities rose in rebellion, chanting his name. Priests tore their vestments and declared a new age. And every world that touched his presence began to change. Grass sprouted in the cracks of hive cities. Water ran clean in rusted pipes. Children born twisted by radiation took their first breaths whole and strong. Miracles. Real miracles. But miracles are poison in the Imperium. Because if the Emperor is not the source, then who is? I tried to resist. I tried to cling to the prayers, the doctrines, the little scraps of faith that kept me sane. But each night, I heard his voice in my dreams. Not words. Just laughter. A sound that made my bones hum, made my chest ache, made me wake with tears burning down my face. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't mocking. It was joy. Pure joy. And I hated it. Because joy has no place here. The Inquisition came, of course. They always do. 3 ships dropped into orbit, black as judgment, their hulls painted with the sigils of the Ordo Hereticus. They landed, marched into camp, demanded to see the entity. We led them to him. He didn't hide. He never hid. The Lord Inquisitor raised his staff, voice trembling with righteous fury. By the authority of the God Emperor of mankind, I name the anathema. You are cast out of the Imperium. You are condemned. The stranger smiled, and the Inquisitor's voice cracked. His words slurred, until suddenly he was laughing. He laughed so hard he dropped his staff. He laughed until blood streamed from his nose, his eyes, his ears. He laughed until his lungs collapsed. He laughed until he died, face twisted into ecstasy. The stranger didn't touch him, didn't move. He just watched. After that, none dared challenge him. But the galaxy noticed. The warp screamed louder. And I began to feel myself slipping. Sometimes, when I close my eyes, I see him standing there. Not above us, not before us, but inside me. His hands folded. His smile bright. His laughter echoing in the caverns of my skull. I think he's choosing me. Reflection and temptation, I don't remember when I stopped speaking the Emperor's prayers. Not aloud. Not even in my head. At first, I tried. I forced the words, scraped them from my throat like rust. I whispered them into the mud, into the smoke, into the silent nights that followed his victories. But the words tasted wrong. They turned to ash before I could finish a verse. And always, his laughter drowned them out. It wasn't just in my dreams anymore. It seeped into waking hours. A hum beneath every sound, the crack of lost fire, the crunch of boots on gravel, even my heartbeat. I'd pause mid-step, certain the laughter was real, that if I turned quickly enough I'd see him standing behind me, grinning. But whenever I turned, the world was empty. And yet I could feel him watching, as though my shadow was his hand on my shoulder. I began to question myself. Had he spoken to me? Truly spoken, in words, in a voice I could name? Or was it my own mind, rotting under the weight of awe, translating his silence into whispers I wanted to hear? Some nights, I swore I heard him. Words soft as cloth, brushing the inside of my skull. You don't need to suffer. You don't need to fear. You can be more. And I believed him. Emperor, forgive me, I believed. The first sign of change came in my hands. A soldier knows their weapon the way a priest knows scripture. My lost gun was mine, scarred, dented, heavy, but familiar. A part of me. I'd cleaned it every night, murmured the rite of unjamming, oiled the barrel with the reverence of survival. But one day, I realized I no longer felt its weight. Not because it was gone, because it no longer mattered. The metal was cold, distant, meaningless. My fingers twitched with an energy I couldn't name, as though holding the weapon was unnecessary. I dreamed of raising my hand at the sky and watching light explode from my palm. And in the dream, it worked. When I woke, my hand still tingled. Others felt it too. We stopped being guardsmen. We became something else. Our bodies healed faster. Wounds sealed overnight. Hunger dulled. Some said they could run for days without sleep, without food. A man who had been blind since birth opened his eyes and saw. A woman scarred by promethium burns woke one morning with her skin smooth, perfect. At first, we rejoiced. Who wouldn't? Miracles in a galaxy of rot. But then came the hunger. Not for food. Not for water. For more. We began to crave his gaze. We began to crave his approval. Every cheer, every laugh, every flicker of attention he gave us fed something deeper than flesh. And when he turned away, it hurt. Like bones breaking. Like a void tearing through the chest. The chaplain's corpse still lay where it fell. None of us dared touch it. But some whispered that he still breathed at night, that if you pressed your ear to his lips you'd hear laughter bubbling in his dead throat. Others prayed to the stranger openly. They formed circles, chanting not litanies but nonsense syllables that echoed the rhythm of his laughter. The priests tried to stop them. The priests burned. Their screams were short. And all the while, I felt the pull. Like gravity, like tides. It wasn't just worship. It was fusion. The emperor demanded faith. The chaos gods demanded submission. But the stranger, he asked for nothing. He only existed, and in his existence, we bent. What does that make us? Believers? Slaves? Or shadows of his light? I tried to remember my past, to anchor myself. My homeworld. My family. The oath I swore when I first took up arms. But the memories blurred, slipping like sand through water. Faces melted into nothing. Voices dissolved into static. When I closed my eyes, I could no longer see my mother's face. Only his. When I tried to recall the oath, only his laughter filled the words. It was as though my very history was being rewritten, not by a demon, not by madness, but by joy. And that is the cruelest corruption of all. Because who resists joy? One night, I woke to find him sitting at the edge of my cot. His eyes glowed faintly in the dark. His smile was soft, almost human. His hand rested on his knee, relaxed, as though this were a campfire tale and not the annihilation of reality. "Why do you fear me?" he asked. I tried to answer, but my throat closed. No air, no sound. Only trembling. He tilted his head. "You've seen what I can do. You've seen the misery I can end. Don't you want to be free?" I shook. I couldn't nod. I couldn't deny. My body betrayed me. He leaned closer, so close I could smell the warmth of his skin, sunlight and ozone, sweat and earth. Alive. Too alive for this galaxy of rot. "You've carried the Emperor's corpse in your heart too long," he whispered. "Let it go. Let me in. You'll never fear again." And then he laughed. A soft laugh. A kind laugh. It broke me worse than any demon's scream. After that night, I was never the same. The line between dream and waking dissolved. I saw him everywhere. In the cracks of stone. In the glint of lost fire. In the stillness of my own reflection. I heard his voice echo in my pulse. And I felt myself slipping further, every day, into something that wasn't me anymore. The warp reacted violently. Demons stopped appearing altogether in his presence. But psychers went mad faster than ever. They clawed their eyes, tore their skin, screamed until their throats shredded. One, before his skull burst, shrieked, "He's not light. He's the hole light falls into." Another gasped, "He's a star pretending to be a man. He's not salvation. He's hunger disguised as joy. I wanted to dismiss them. I wanted to ignore it. But deep inside I knew. Their madness was truth bleeding out faster than flesh could contain. And yet, I still wanted him. Do you see my torment? I don't hate him. I don't love him. I simply orbit him. Like a planet around a sun. Like a moth around flame. Whether he's God or monster no longer matters. Because in his presence, choice is illusion. And I am so tired of choice. Climax the moment came without warning. No alarms. No bombardments. No marching boots. Just the sky splitting open like rotten fruit. It began as a hum, low and steady, vibrating the bones in my jaw. Then light, so much light, bled through the clouds, a color too bright for human sight. My eyes poured blood, my ears filled with screams, but still I saw. The warp itself was unraveling above us. Veins of raw Imperium pulsed across the heavens, leaking shapes, leaking voices. Entire legions of demons spilled through, serpents with 1,000 heads, titans of iron flesh, swarms of wings made of teeth. Normally, their coming would mean annihilation. Whole worlds would be stripped clean, sanctified only by fire. But not now. Not with him. The stranger rose into the sky. No wings. No engines. Just will. His body was a comet of light, aura blazing so bright the demons shrieked like children at fire. Their claws, their blades, their screams, all bent away from him. I saw one, a greater demon, taller than cathedrals, bellow with a voice that cracked the earth. It raised its axe, big enough to shatter cities. He caught it with his hand. Not both. Not straining. Just one hand. The demon howled, and the stranger's laughter cut through, echoing louder than any warp storm. With a twist of his wrist, the axe shattered into dust. With another flick, the demon crumpled, folding into a speck of nothingness. And the rest fled. Demons. Fleeing. It should have been a miracle. A victory no Imperial commander could dream of. But it wasn't. Because as they fled, I felt something worse than fear. I felt emptiness. The galaxy without demons is not peace. It is silence. It is void. And in that silence, there was only him. The ground shook as reality bent. Cities reshaped themselves overnight. Dead crops blossomed into forests. Wounds sealed. Crippled limbs straightened. Children laughed where they should have starved. Old men sang where they should have wept. The galaxy began to heal. But it was wrong. All of it. Because it was not healing for us. It was bending toward him. Every leaf turned to follow his light. Every voice rose to echo his laughter. Every prayer twisted itself into syllables shaped for him, even when lips fought against it. I tried to pray to the Emperor one last time. But my mouth betrayed me. The words warped into laughter. The Imperium broke faster than I thought possible. Some worshipped him outright, declaring him the new sun, the true emperor. Others condemned him as the brightest heresy. Wars erupted, not against demons or Xenos, but between ourselves, between those who bent and those who resisted. But in the end, resistance didn't matter. Because no matter how many ships, no matter how many armies, no matter how many worlds burned in defiance, he was always there. Always laughing. Always smiling. The galaxy had become his stage. And we, its audience. Do you want to know when I knew I was lost? It wasn't when I saw him unmake demons. It wasn't when my comrades bent their knees. It wasn't when my memories of home dissolved into his shadow. It was the day I looked into a mirror and didn't recognize myself. My eyes glowed faintly in the dark. My wounds no longer scarred. My breath came in steady waves, stronger than it ever had been. And when I smiled, it was his smile. He was inside me. Not metaphor. Not faith. Literal. Every cell humming with his power, reshaping itself. My veins carried not blood, but light. My laughter echoed his. And I felt happy. That was the worst part. Because I didn't want to stop. The Inquisition tried again. A fleet of black ships, armed with weapons forged to scour entire systems, descended upon our world. They unleashed fire, prayers, null fields, every sacred weapon mankind has ever crafted to wound the warp. The stranger walked into the void of space itself. No armor. No suit. Just cloth and light. and he caught their fire in his hands. He laughed, and the fire went out. The ships detonated one by one, not destroyed, not shattered, but erased, like chalk wiped from slate. I heard the screams of billions of souls trapped in their holds, psychers chained in agony. Their voices silenced in an instant. The Emperor's will was gone, and only his remained. I broke that day. I fell to my knees, not in prayer, not in despair, but in surrender. Tears streaked my face as laughter tore from my lungs. My ribs cracked under the pressure of it, but I couldn't stop. He descended, standing over me. His shadow wrapped me like a cloak. His hand touched my head, warm as sunlight. "You see now," he whispered. And I did. There was no Imperium, no Emperor, no chaos, no past, no self. There was only him. The galaxy shuddered as the warp bent fully to his presence. I felt it in my bones, in my marrow. Every star, every atom, every heartbeat sang in chorus with his laughter. Demons no longer existed. Gods no longer mattered. The warp became something new, not an ocean of madness, but a mirror of him. His joy, his hunger, his endless, blazing presence. And we, every living thing, were nothing more than notes in his song. I should have fought. I should have screamed. But instead, I opened myself. And light poured in. It burned away everything. My name, my memories, my soul. But in that burning, I felt release. No more fear. No more hunger. No more pain. Only laughter. Closing punchline, I don't know how long it's been. Time doesn't exist anymore, not in the way it used to. There are no rotations, no campaigns, no countdowns until the next bombardment. There is only light, laughter, and the slow unraveling of everything I once thought was eternal. Sometimes I think years have passed. Sometimes I think I'm still kneeling in that mud, his hand warm against my skull. But then I look around, and the galaxy has changed beyond recognition. The stars are wrong. Not gone. Not destroyed. Changed. They burn brighter, hungrier, pulsing like veins. Entire constellations now bend into the shape of his grin. Nebulae swirl in spirals of color that mimic the flare of his aura. And the warp, there is no warp anymore. No great ocean, no roiling madness. Only a reflection. Wherever his laughter echoes, the veil bends to it. Demons are nothing but shadows dissolved in the brightness. The gods of old are silent. Perhaps they are dead. Perhaps they've simply been swallowed. I don't know which is worse. The Imperium is gone. What remains is something else. A theater. A playground. A galaxy remade in his image. The ecclesiarchy tried to cling to power. They twisted his presence into scripture, called him the Emperor's true face revealed at last. They marched across the stars with banners of orange and gold, chanting hymns of laughter. But even their lies failed. Because he does not demand scripture. He does not demand ritual. He simply is. And so the people follow, not out of duty, not out of fear, but out of gravity. You cannot resist the pull of a star. I no longer recognize myself. I am not soldier. Not man. Not even faithful. I am a vessel. A note in his endless chorus. Sometimes, when I catch my reflection in steel or water, I see my own face dissolve into his. My eyes glow brighter. My skin hums. My laughter bursts out of me without warning. I tell myself I'm confessing to you now, but perhaps these are not my words at all. Perhaps they are his, spilling through me. Perhaps there was never a me to begin with. I tried, once, to kill myself. Do you want to hear something funny? I pressed my lost pistol beneath my chin, whispered the Emperor's name, what little I could remember of it, and pulled the trigger. The beam fired. I felt it burn. And then, I laughed. Not in triumph. Not in mockery. In joy. The wound sealed before the smoke cleared. My lungs filled with light, not blood. My lips curved into his smile. And I realized then, death is no escape. He will not allow it. I wonder, sometimes, what became of Terra? Did the golden throne crumble? Did the corpse finally rot to dust? Or is he still there, silent, trapped, watching as the galaxy bows to a brighter star? I hope he cannot see. Because if he does, he must know he is lost. The worst part, the final cruelty, is this. I am not afraid anymore. I should be. Every instinct, every memory, every scrap of my old self screams that this is wrong, that this is the ultimate heresy. But fear is gone. Suffering is gone. All that remains is joy. Endless, burning, suffocating joy. It fills me. It drowns me. It tears at what little remains of my humanity. And still I smile. Do you understand now? Do you see why I whisper this confession into the dark? Not to warn you. Not to beg for forgiveness. But to share it. Because his laughter spreads. Through me. Through you. Through every ear that dares listen. It seeps between the words, between the silences. Even now, you feel it, don't you? That tickle at the edge of your thoughts. That warmth in your chest. That twitch at the corner of your mouth. You're smiling, aren't you? I am finished. There is nothing more to say. No prayers left. No self left. Only this final truth, the last words I own before I dissolve into his voice completely. He didn't save us. He consumed us. And now when I close my eyes, I hear his laughter in the dark.